until 2016 I'd spent 18 years as a social worker and became a senior lecturer and then a teaching fellow of social work. I was diagnosed as autistic age 56. It was a complete revelation to me. It did join up all the dots for myself and everyone who knows me, really. I was a carer for my mum for 10 years. She had dementia and Parkinson's, and I had responsibilities, and thinking of myself was last on the list, really. It wasn't until my mum passed away that the whole of my world came crashing in. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was a gradual diminishing of who I was. It was a 2.5, 3 year process of becoming lost before I actually became missing.
When we think about carers coming to the house and her mum becoming increasingly unwell with dementia, it's not surprising that she was as ill as she was, because there was I remember a 3 month period where we must have had over 100 different carers come through our front door. All of that was just such an overwhelming challenge for somebody with autism, and we just didn't know that at the time.
So that morning I put on my best working blue suit that I used to teach in, and my posh grey shoes. I collected some photographs of my family, my mum's tapestry bag and a lilac cardigan and my phone, and I just rang a taxi and I sat on the stairs in our hallway, and the taxi came and I just stood and I didn't look back. I told the driver that I needed to go to the station, and he said, "What are you up to today, Duck?" And I said, "I was going to a conference." He dropped me off and he wished me a safe journey and he drove off. And I often think how, if only he'd known the poignancy of those words, safe journey, it was to be the most unsafe journey of my life.
During the time when she was missing, life was just such a weird juxtaposition, I suppose, of everyday life, like walking the dog, and the real alien and surreal experiences of being at home without you there. I just kind of lived on adrenaline, I suppose. I've got a tendency to try and want to make things better. I think a lot of us are like that when someone around us is struggling, and we just want to make things better for that person. We just needed to be in it with Ju. I couldn't try and change it in any way.
I had no more idea of my evolving missing status than I had my current trauma. And much of the days that followed are a thankful blur in many ways. I was exhausted by lack of sleep and aimless wandering around London. I felt so alone. I felt so afraid. I felt too afraid to end my life and too afraid to live it. I trusted no one and I wanted no one. And I think I eventually reached a point of exhausted resignation and gave up. And I remember sitting on a bench just wondering how the hell I'd ended up like this. And a man in a high-vis jacket that was picking up litter asked me if I was okay. And he asked me if I was waiting for a friend, and I nodded. And it somehow broke the spell. His kindness broke the spell. And weeks before, I'd laid on the sofa at home watching Britain's Got Talent. There'd been a choir singing. It was the Missing People choir. And as always, music had always cut through my deepest depression. And I remember weeping for the sadness for these people and the stories that they shared. But I had no idea that this song would become my own lifeline home.
Ju's return was really the time when I connected in with missing people. I rang, and literally within 2 rings the phone had been answered, and there was this lovely, kind, reassuring voice at the end of the phone and just talked some things through with me, which was just amazing. I
returned to our home with the same level of trauma and pain that I'd left with, to be honest, but now it was only compounded by feelings of shame at having left. And one morning I wrote to the Missing People choir to thank them for saving my life. And it's then that the charity Missing People immediately offered their support, and it's then that the counselling and the aftercare kicked in, and something that's been ongoing ever since, and it's 2.5 years ago. And without that lifeline of Missing People, we wouldn't have survived as a family this horribly frightening experience. We wouldn't be sat here sharing it with you as a survivor. You know, I literally owe my life to a group of people whose loved ones were missing and still are, singing their hearts out on a national television show because they had the generosity of spirit to share their pain in the hope of helping to ease somebody else's. And that's what I want to do with mine now.
Knowing that there was a 24-hour confidential helpline that you could ring at any time after she came home just gave me so much reassurance, knowing that there would be people that understood, people that knew at that time that she'd been a missing person, that she could be in touch with. It just meant more than I can say, really, and knowing that I could ring them too, which I had some contact with the family support staff initially, and then they organised some counselling for me, which was amazing. Just the most incredible time to process my story and my experience, really. I think gratitude is one thing that's just so much more present in my life now. I know what a large number of people go missing every year, and how difficult it can be for some people to return, and some never return. So I know how lucky I am to have you back, and for us to be in the place that we're in now. So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for our life together.